Hey there, friends. Today is reading day. And on this Wednesday, we're going to read a favorite book of mine, A House for Hermit Crabs by Eric Carle. We read The Grouchy Ladybug by him last week. So this is another book, and I've had this book a really long time. And it's a great book when you're talking about ocean animals. This is a hermit crab. You ever seen one of these in the pet store? Lots of people keep them as pets, but the important thing about a hermit crab is when it grows, its shell doesn't grow with it. So it's got to find a new shell. And that's the problem they have. They have to find a new shell, so they have to move every once in a while so they can keep growing. So this is a book called A House for Hermit Crab, and the main character is a hermit crab who gets a new shell. And if you don't remember, and you're going to find out, his shell is pretty plain, so he wants to do something to make the shell look a little bit more homey. We're also going to see the months of the year. This is January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. And we're going to put those in order in a little bit after we read our story. But every month in the book, something is going to happen. So we're going to listen for those month words too. A House for Hermit Crab by Eric Carle. A House for Hermit Crab. Time to move, said Hermit Crab one day in January. I've grown too big for this little shell. He had felt safe and snug in his shell, but now it was too snug. Hermit Crab stepped out of the shell and onto the floor of the ocean. But it was frightening out in the open sea without a shell to hide in. What if a big fish comes along and attacks me, he thought. I must find a new house soon. Early in February, Hermit Crab found just the house he was looking for. It was a big shell and strong. He moved right in, wiggling and waggling about inside to see how it felt. It felt just right. But it looks so plain, said Hermit Crab. Look at that plain white shell. It's not very exciting. I wonder what he's going to do. In March, Hermit Crab met some sea anemones. They swayed gently back and forth in the water. How beautiful you are, said Hermit. Would one of you be willing to come and live on my house? It is so plain it needs you. I'll come, whispered a small sea anemone. Gently, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on its shell. That looks pretty cool. Oh, look what this animal is. In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock of starfish moving slowly on the sea floor. So there's my starfish. How handsome you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to decorate my house? I would, singled a little sea star. Carefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his house. In May, Hermit Crab discovered some coral. They were hard and didn't move. How pretty you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to help make my house more beautiful? I would, creaked a crusty coral, because they're very hard, so they're creaky. Gingerly, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it onto his shell. In June, Hermit Crab came to a group of snails crawling over a rock on the ocean floor. They grazed as they went, picking up algae and bits of debris and leaving a neat path behind them. So see how they've cleaned up the ocean floor? They've picked all this brown stuff up. So they're really good cleaners. How tidy and hardworking you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and help me clean my house? I would, offered one of the snails. Happily, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. In July, Hermit Crab came upon several sea urchins. They had sharp, prickly needles. How fierce you look, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to protect my house? I would, answered a spiky sea urchin. Gratefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it near its shell. And I don't have a sea urchin picture, but that's what happened after the snail, was the sea urchins. They look like little pincushions to me. You would have to do that very carefully. Oh, look what's happening now in August. In August, Hermit Crab and his friends wandered into a forest of seaweed. It's so dark in here, thought Hermit Crab. How dim it is, murmured the sea anemone. How gloomy it is, whispered the starfish. How murky it is, complained the coral. I can't see, said the snail. It's like nighttime, cried the sea urchin. There they go. In September, Hermit Crab spotted a school of lanternfish darting through the dark water. How bright you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to light up our house? I would, replied one lanternfish, and it swam over near the shell. In October, Hermit Crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles. How sturdy you are, said Hermit Crab. Would you mind if I rearranged you? Not at all, answered the pebbles. Hermit Crab picked them up one by one with his claw, and he built a wall around the shell. Almost like a fence is what it makes me think of. Now my house is perfect, cheered Hermit Crab. But in November, Hermit Crab felt that his shell seemed a little bit too small. Little by little over the year, Hermit Crab had grown. Soon he would have to find another bigger home. But he had come to love his friends, the sea anemone, the starfish, the coral, the sea urchin, the snail, the lanternfish, and even the smooth pebbles. They have been so good to me, thought Hermit Crab. They are like a family. How can I ever leave them? But look, he's right here. In December, a smaller hermit crab passed by. I have outgrown my shell, she said. Would you know of a place for me? I have outgrown my house too, answered the hermit crab. I must move on. You are welcome to live here, but you must promise to be good to my friends. I promised, said the little crab. The following January, Hermit Crab stepped out and the little crab moved in. Couldn't stay in that little shell forever, said Hermit Crab as he waved goodbye. The ocean floor looked whiter than he had remembered, but Hermit Crab wasn't afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big empty shell. It looked, well, plain, but sponges, he thought. Barnacles, clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. There are so many possibilities. I can't wait to get started. The end. I love that story. Okay, so I want us to look at the months and think about what happened in this story according to the months. Okay, so the story started with January. That's the very first month of the year. Do you remember what he found in January? We have the hermit crab, and he found his shell. That's right. So that's what happened in January. So I'm going to put that over here. I'm going to put these down here. Then in what comes after January? Do you remember? February. So I have January, February. What did he find in February? That's right, a sea anemone. That's how he decorated it. And then after February, oh, you know what? That happened in March. Okay, so in February, he had found the shell. So we had the hermit crab, we had the shell, we had the sea anemone, and then in April, what did he have? That's right, he had the starfish. And then in May, he discovered some coral that was really pretty. And then in June, he thought his shell was looking a little bit dirty. So do you know what he found? He found a snail. Good job. So after he got the shell, he found some sea urchins. And what month is after July? I mean after June. And I told you the answer. It's June. So then he found the sea urchin. So he's got, and I'm sorry I don't have a picture for the sea urchin. So he's got lots of stuff on his shell. But in August, do you remember what happened? Like it got really, really dark. And then what month is after August? September. So we found some lanternfish to light everything up. And then on October, he found some pebbles to put all around. And then in November, do you remember what he found out? His shell was getting a little bit snug. And then in December, he found a little hermit crab that needed a home, and he needed a new home. So back in January, he found a new shell, and it all started over again. Good job. So we talked about our story in the months, and we put the animals I had in order. And I've got your independent practice that you're going to do today. Okay? This is easy peasy lemon squeezy. The first thing I want you to do is color. So you're going to color this very neatly and nicely. And he's red. And the rest of it, it's up to you. Okay, then down here at the bottom, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 animals. But you only have 5 squares. So you've got to decide which 5 animals go in these squares. Okay? So you got to cut them out and put those in there. 3 of them lived on the shell, and 2 of them are out here. So you've got to think about it. Okay? All right, guys, good job, and I will see you in the morning. Bye, friends.